another version of the lightest and best where we look at the lightest and best offerings of a variety of knife manufacturers. And today the manufacturer we're going to look at is Gavko Knives, whose owner and founder is Gavko. And this is his lightest and best offering, which is the Mako. This particular knife is a one-off custom, but it's been sold in stores before. Look at how beautiful that knife is with its purple handle, and then it has some sort of orange finish on the blade, and of course the Gavko maker's mark there. Well, let's talk a little bit about the knife. Gavko's knives was created by Mako Gavko from Slovakia. He has a prominent YouTube presence, an internet presence, and he always ends his videos saying, "Remember, don't cut yourself." He has a Slovenian accent, really cute. This Mako is the little brother of his full-size Mako. The mid-tech version of the Mako has a blade of 3.75 inches long and weighs 4.6 ounces, so it's much larger than this knife. This knife has a blade that is a full inch shorter and is over 2 ounces lighter. So this is the little brother. It's a wonderful knife. Let's talk about the specifications. As I've mentioned, the blade is 2.75 inches long. Beautiful blade. The handle length is 3.5 inches long, which is about as small as you can get a handle that I can get a 4-finger grip on. The total knife length is 6.26 inches long. The weight is 2.5 ounces, and I have some knives for comparison. We'll start out on the small side with the Benchmade Benchmite. As you can tell, the Mako is larger than that. And then we have the Spartan Blades Metis. The Spartan Blades Metis and the Mako are very similar in size. Next comes the O'Hare Minified RFK. And the Minified RFK is a little smaller than the Mako actually. Then we have the Riate Wave, which is a larger knife. We have the Hinder Half Track, which is a little bit longer knife, I believe. And lastly, but not leastly, we have the brother, the Baby Spinner from Gavko, which has the same stylistic design with the unique thumb hole that's oblong that Gavko likes to use in his geometric lines and angles on his blade and his handle, the Baby Spinner. Well, there's a size comparison for you. Let's talk a little more about the Mako. The blade is made out of AEBL steel and has an orange finish to it. As you can tell, on the show side he has the Gavko knives maker's mark, and then on the scale side it's sterile. He has another maker's mark on the pocket clip, but otherwise the knife is without any billboards and is completely sterile. The knife blade shape, I really don't know what to cause that. It's almost a Wharncliffe, except it has a little bit of up angle here. I'm going to call it a modified sheepfoot, but it's nothing as smooth and rounded. Everything is sharp geometric corners in Gavko's design. On the spine of the blade, there is chamfering, but no jimping. But your thumb gets good purchase because it has something to press against there. It's a nice design. There is a cutout on the blade, and you would think it is a thumb hole, but I'm unable to deploy the blade with that very easily. However, you don't need to because the flipper works so nicely. This is in contrast to the Baby Spinner. The Baby Spinner has a thumb hole that you can deploy the knife with, but for some reason the geometry just doesn't work for the Mako. At least for me anyway, I have difficulty deploying it with the thumb hole. The blade, interestingly, is canted forward, as you can see, kind of like a shark would be. And Mako is a species of shark. And so Ergonomically, it does you a favor because normally you have to grab a knife and then you're standing in front of a table or something and you have to cant your wrist forward a little bit to get the blade to engage at a horizontal level with whatever you're cutting. Gavko canted his blade forward, so it's a little bit easier ergonomically on you. I also wanted to comment on the grinds on the blade. It's usual to have a flat here and then have a chamfer and then your primary bevel and then a secondary bevel afterwards. Gavko puts another bevel here, and I don't even know what to call that, a tertiary grind, I don't know. But the whole purpose is to maintain a very thick knife out to the very end, and then he brings it to a fine needle-like point at the very end, and that is just as sharp as a needle. It is a wonderful design from function, and it looks very geometric and interesting in the Gavko style. The method of deployment the knife uses is by flipper, and this knife flips just wonderfully. As you can tell, the flipper is behind the pivot. However, Gavko has one of my favorite flipper designs in that it makes sense. His flipper on the top where you would button push it is angled in the force of the vector of the direction you're going to be pushing backwards like that. As you can tell, the flipper is going to end here, but it starts up here. And so your thumb presses exactly on the angle and in the direction that the flipper needs to go to deploy the blade. It's very comfortable and it deploys wonderfully. The detent on this knife is distinctive. It clicks whenever you deploy it. And I'm going to see if you can hear this on the mic. Do you hear that pop whenever it deploys? You don't see that in many knives, but it's very, very interesting detent. But the detent is what makes the action of this knife and the flipping action so great. Let's talk about the handle a little bit. As you can tell, it has a purple anodized titanium handle, and it has the milling is made, I believe, to look like a shark, and that's probably where he gets his Gavko look. And then these would be the scales down the side of the fish, but the milling is really intricate. And even on the back of the knife, he has a lot of file work, and I believe he does this all by hand. He put a lot of love into it, and here, even on the back spacer, he has a lot of file work for texturing so that you can get a good grip on this handle. Really well done. The pivot on the knife is ceramic caged bearings, and as I've mentioned, it has a great flipping action with the bearings, the detent, and the flipper tab shape. The lock bar on the knife is a frame lock and has no over travel stop or lock bar insert, but it seems to function very well. The pocket clip on the knife is a 3D milled clip, tip up, right hand carry only. As you can notice, it has Gavko's maker's mark cut into the clip and secured with external screws. The ergonomics on the knife are great. It has a place for your index finger and then little milled out places as a relief to the milling work he has here so that you have a smooth area for your other fingers to reside, and it's just perfect for a 4-finger grip, I believe. You wouldn't want it any smaller, that's for sure. And the contest with light knives is how small can you get them and still make them a 4-finger grip so that you can cut them like an EDC. The action of the blade, which I've mentioned, is really good, and that's 3 things coming together: the shape of the flipper tab, the strength of the detent, and the beauty of the caged ceramic bearings that really give this a great action. So what are my impressions about the knife? I love the knife. It's one of my favorite customs. Are there opportunities for improvement? Certainly. For example, I think we're all a little peeved at people that use custom pivots to take the knife apart. That would be easier if you just use a regular pivot. The other thing I would improve is on his clip, he uses external screws instead of blinded screws. I'm going to give you an example of a couple knife makers that choose to use blinded screws and how good it makes their knife. This is on the right is the Riate Wave, and it has blinded screws, and it's internally affixed. And here is the Spartan Metis. It has an unusual shaped clip, but it is internally screwed too with blinded screws. And I just think they look a little more finished and polished. And here you have the 2 screws of the back spacers and then the 2 screws of the knife clip. It just seems like a lot of screws in a small place. Whenever you have a small knife, it may be best aesthetically to put them on the inside. But what do I love about the knife? What do I like about the knife? I love it. I love the extensive milling he did, the side milling here that looks like the gills of a shark and the scales of a shark. I like all the intricate file work that he did on the back spine here and on the back spacer. I love the geometry of the blade and the coloring of the blade, how it looks unique, and it just looks like no other knife. A Gavko knife looks like no other knife. He has his own style, and it has this own look, and I call it my caveman knife because everything looks rough and rugged. It looks like a knife that Fred Flintstone would carry, and it's an anachronism because it looks like a caveman knife, but everything is smooth and polished and finished and perfect about it, and I really like it. So, if you would like a custom knife in the Gavko caveman style that looks like a shark and has an amazing detent with awesome flipping action, and the Gavko Micro Mako may be the knife for you. It's the lightest and best knife the Gavko makes. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next lightest and best video.